It's time to get your quick fix with the remix. I'm Remixus, and I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. For this update, the devs have added two massive changes. The first is the M portion of MMO. We have a 64 square kilometer map to explore. We start seemingly in the center of that map, and we can see these little characters here, which give us a scale of how big our different frames will be. I'll come back to this towards the middle of the video. As soon as we leave this little starting area, you get a sense of how large this map will be. Right now, it is huge. I love the detail of the terrain and the fact that nearly all of it can be traversed. Unfortunately, they have moved to a white box demo to hide how the details of the game will look until the Kickstarter goes live. I can understand this since you want to be able to generate a lot of hype when you launch your project, though I'm not sure how I feel about a Kickstarter itself. Mostly because of how many games die in their Kickstarter phase. The saving grace with this game is that it's actually got a playable demo, so you can take part in your first mission. Speaking of missions, here you are. It's very basic, but for Firefall fans, you should have no problem figuring out what your objective is. Scan for resource nodes, call your Thumper, protect it, and collect the resources. The longer you mine, the easier it is to die. More enemies will spawn until either your Thumper gets airlifted out, or they manage to blow it up. I've done this 4 times now and have been successful solo only once. This is balanced for 4 players. Currently, you cannot early cancel your Thumper mining. A couple side notes, I tried to have one of these pillar rocks crush me, but it seems to just push you out of the way. I also tried to see if the aircraft at the starting area is the same one that drops your Thumper, but it's not. It's just a static model, and the other one that flies overhead drops your Thumper and then spawns out. Well, this is it, pilots. This scratches the itch for Firefall. The core of the game is finally here. There's a ton of work that needs to be done, but here's your fundamentals to the game. The encounters are difficult, but not impossible. The gameplay is overall simple, but requires resource management. Enemies attack and will kill you or your Thumper, and you can pick up your mined resources. You have a vast world to explore. This is what Firefall is, and then we add further elements to that game to give us a much more fulfilling experience. Why do we collect those resources, for example? Moving on to some of the other changes and updates, you may have noticed the small red and white boxes running around. These are a type of melee character. I would expect these to be the beast creatures that can be found in the art demo, but they could be a new character we haven't seen yet. In this build, we only have one version of the Tsi-hu, that is, we don't have the version that have the whips that can drive you down to the ground. And we've received some tuning for the glider, which feels really good right now. You have a lot of acceleration and speed, but you can feel your weight when you move towards an upwards glide. These changes, as big as they are really what encompass the major updates as we move towards the Kickstarter phase. Now, many of you may look at this map and think, well, all they did was make a bigger space and you've got some mountains. And while I feel that's a valid critique, it doesn't feel like it's a step back more than it feels as a sidestep to move where we need to. Kind of a realignment of priorities. Moving towards the future of this game, I've come up with a lot of questions myself, and luckily the community has thought of a lot of the same questions. So I wanted to take a few minutes just to kind of go over what those questions are and map out what the future progress of this game is going to look like. First of all, VR is not in development, as cool as that would be. Remember, we're talking about potentially hundreds of players in the same area, all trying to render at least 60 frames to avoid motion sickness. So having VR just isn't a viable pathway for us right now. That being said, we'll need a lot less detailed items to maintain high frames and large open world battles anyways. And just in case you guys forgot, do you remember the world bosses from Firefall and the lag fests that they generated? Can you think of a popular MMO right now where you start getting a bunch of people all involved? It creates a lot of chaos. We've had a lot of QA sessions with our lead dev Grums, so for those of you not checking these out, I wanted to give you some updates with game direction. He's been interacting with the new Unreal Engine. The demo is a very small playable area that you can interact with, but has massive highly detailed area. Unfortunately, Unreal 5 is not ready and it's still in development. So because of this, we won't see any demos in Unreal 5, but they have plans to most likely move things over to the new engine. This will mean that we won't have a lot of engine customization, otherwise they'll be locked into Unreal 4. Many game developers will take the core engine like Unreal, CryEngine, or what have you, and create custom scripts, lighting, or other features, then tailor them to their specific game they're making. These games get so customized that moving to a new engine would mean recreating everything from scratch other than some basic models. The new engine should allow them to build the world much quicker and have multiple people work on the project at the same time once it actually comes out. In the meantime, we'll be on the Unreal version 4.26. What's nice about the Unreal Engine 5 is all of the newest features are not required, so the core fundamentals of the Unreal 4 engine are baked into Unreal 5. This should help out a lot of things when moving forward to a new engine. We currently only have one frame, and it's a medium frame. The lightweight is supposed to be about the size of a human, seen at the beginning of this video. The heavy frame will be larger than what we currently have, but it won't be created until we reach about 1,500 Patreons consistently. We're currently sitting about 1,310, with an all-time high of 1,400. Another important direction that they're thinking of taking this game is to give your pilot small roles and let your frame do most of the heavy lifting with which class you are. For instance, as a pilot, you might have a very small Aurora that gives a small passive healing ability, but your medic kit on your frame is going to be the real healer. This idea really isn't new, as you can find it in PlanetSide's suit, ability, and passive slots. You can have a regular medic, but then you can suit yourself more to be geared towards killing versus reviving. A heavy assault might specialize against infantry, or it could work on taking out armor. These are just a couple examples to give you different ideas. One thing I'm liking is the future plans for crowdfunding. The plan is to pay for cosmetics that rotate based on rarity and use crowdfunding initiatives to fund core features. For example, if we want vehicles, then those would be available to everyone so long as the milestone is reached. It's essentially everyone paying for the DLC, but not locking people out of core aspects. This is a much more interesting approach and makes sure people aren't left out or locked away from content. Also, these skin rotations can be seen on screen now. They will be based off of rarity. At the same time, these skins are supposed to be able to be crafted in-game, so I'm not sure how that works with, say, your legendary versions, but I digress. You can also expect the game to be set up in a kind of FPS Command and Conquer style game, but you can actually build the bases and they're still destructible. For instance, your war factory will pump out tanks and your silo will hold resources. This is currently implemented on PlanetSide, so you can get a small idea of what that would look like. Music is also on their minds, as we now have a Thumper encounter, which is different than your regular exploration style music. Also, I know many of you will remember the Brontodon from Firefall, if I'm remembering the name correctly, but one of the first beast encounters will be the Emberdon as seen on screen. Well, that about sums up all the changes. We have a very large map, about 64 square kilometers, of mostly white detail. For reference, this map is about the size of PlanetSide 2's maps. We have one single mission, which is to protect your Thumper, but instead of starting to feel like Firefall, it actually feels like the alpha of Firefall. No word on when our Kickstarter will go live, but I am expecting it somewhat soon. I know the devs are hoping by the end of the year. Well, pilots, that's all. I hope you enjoyed the updates as much as I have. If you have more questions, feel free to shoot a message to me in the comments section down below, and you can try checking out some of my other videos to see the status of Ember. Until the next video, keep it real and keep it on remix.